Greetings, comrades. My name is DimAurora, and welcome back to From the Depths, and welcome back to How Dim Does It. Now, today, we are going to be taking a look at what I've changed, mostly in the shape of hulls, with current generation 8, which is based off of RLI's creations. So, to start off with, we have two very distinctive hull shapes from RLI. We have the Project 50 Destroyer, which shows off the standard model of hull that I use now, at least the bow. And we have the Project 13M Light Cruiser, which shows off kind of an experimental version of the kind of old style hull that I built. Where I was going to be building the Project 13M to the standard of around the 1910s era, 1910s, 1920s. So it's kind of a Russian style cruiser from that era. So we're going to take a look at how I did both of these. Since the How Dim Does It series, it seems to be very popular. So we're going to start off with, actually let's start off with the old version, because it is so unique. So I always start off with this block. This block right here is always the first block that I make. So every single ship I have will start from this single block on the tip of the bow. Then I like to start shaping out the hull. Now this has a very unique shape because of its era. So it's more of a slope, a wedge than the others, even though it has these indents here. So in this case I just went straight for 4 meter, but if we look over here you can see that I went 2 meter then 4 meter to give it more of a rounded look. You can do it however you want. So if I just make something over here, this is our third ship, and we're gonna, let's actually turn this into a ship. You know what? Over this series we're gonna turn this into a ship. So we got a new ship coming. So this, you're just going to be a cunt, so I'm just going to spam this so you don't think it's two little blocks. There we go. Alright, so now, let's make, what should we make? Let's make a destroyer leader. How about that? We'll make a destroyer leader, because I'm all about those destroyers, for some odd reason. So, we kind of want it to be somewhat sharp, but not too much. So let's take this and do the 2 as well. We'll want it about 9 or 11 wide. Probably 9 wide. So if we take this and bring it back more, let's do a 4 here. So we're gonna do a 4 block, and that'll give it a much sharper look. At a width of 7 now, so this would be your average destroyer, or at least my average destroyer. I do believe that the Project 50 is, yes, it is 7. So this is going to be just a little bit bigger to accommodate some more weapons around the midsection of it. So we'll bring it out to here. And then just, I guess, spam. There we go. And we'll take out this middle block. So, now we have our base. This is going to be the foundation of everything that we're making. So, you can make this smoother, but because there aren't... I'm also extremely modded, if you guys can't tell. So if I'm doing something aesthetically that you can't, I'm sorry. I just do it the way I teach myself. So if you really wanted to, what we could do is make it an 8 slope. That makes it very nice looking, but because there are no angled blocks for this, it's just not gonna work. So let's go back to just this. So now we have our bow, or at least the very basic shape of the bow of our ship. So let's see, we'll want to make it about as deep as the destroyer, honestly. So we're looking at, what? We got a 3 meter tall there, then 4 meter and 2 meter, okay. So honestly, we could make it about as deep as that, because this is a raised portion. And then it comes back down here. I'll get into that later. But just to show some variance between them, I'm going to make it 4 blocks tall. So we're actually going to replace these with some diagonal beams, and I'm going to mirror those because I'm not in fact a complete buffoon. And then we'll bring this all the way down. This gives it kind of that above water shape. Don't know the true word for that, but above water, so the opposite of draft. And then bring this down a little bit to go with it. Now we want to start the curve. So the curve, we'll use a slope here. And then because this is such a small vessel comparatively, we're going to take an inverted triangle next to the slope, or a triangle and then an inverted triangle to start the little, or the very prominent shape of my bows. And we'll take a 1 meter triangle corner, and we'll basically do the same thing. So this is just like a larger version of the Project 50 in all honesty. So we take the slopes, the inverted triangles, and the triangles, and we start making this shape. So now that we have this, we're pretty good to go. So I'm going to start... Actually, does this line up? Ooh, it lines up perfectly. So we'll just start with some diagonal slopes and then regular. So now we have the tip of our bow, but it doesn't look right. So we'll take the bottom here and start using triangle corners to make it look better. So this is a 4 meter, and then we'll blend it so that it's 3 blocks from this center post. So I'll just do it on this one. There we go. And now what we do is we take beams, or whatever you want. You should probably do beams though. And bring it up so that it matches with this. And in this case, we can just turn that vertically, and there we go. So right here, we're going to bring this up. And you want 1 block of, I guess, angling here. You don't want, for a ship of this size, you don't want to make it too wide. With light cruisers and stuff like that, what we would do is that we would bring out the center here, and we would have a 1 block here as well, and we would follow the pattern of this, making it 5 blocks wide instead of 3 blocks wide. So now we have the portion of the hull that is designed to cut the water. So what we do here is we start to blend it out. So let's just do the rapid fire and quickly make it so that the hull looks a little nicer. It makes more sense. So here we're gonna extend this slope back. I'm gonna bring this so that it looks clean on the outside. You don't want any holes, otherwise you look very weird. And now what we do to start merging this out, which we'll do over here actually, so we bring this one over. So anywhere that there is a beam that is riding above, or that is exposed to the outside, you want to keep this 1 meter of, I guess, slope there. But now we're starting to get where the angling of the hull has meshed with the outside. So we're going to take our triangles again and start to smooth it out. So we'll keep doing this until we have 2 meters. So just like this, so 2 blocks worth of slope. So you should have this on the side of your hole. Now what this does is it allows for extreme or a very large internal capacity compared to a standard hole design. It's relatively high speed. Most of my designs easily go 30 plus, or 20 plus I should say, not 30 plus, that's only patrol boats. And honestly I think it looks nice. With the 4 meter tall it looks a little bit odd. So I might change that up before doing more with the video. But we're going to keep it as it is for now. So now that we have our hole started, let's just take the same set of blocks so that it doesn't look extremely awkward. And we're just going to fill this out. So now we have our bow. And this will serve as the basis of everything we're going to do. So we'll cut that out, makes it look better. There we go. We have the basic bow of a destroyer leader. Now what we might do is actually just shave off the top so that it's the same depth and whatever as the Project 50. But I think we'll leave it for right now. So we're at a width of 9, so it's slightly bigger than a destroyer, which is exactly what we want, and we're gonna go... What you can do here is just use wood. I'm me, so I prefer aesthetics and functionality, so I'm going to be using reinforced wood from After Cataclysm. So we'll start to bring the bow back just a little bit to about here. So now we have our bow with some wood on it. Makes it look nice, honestly. I prefer wood over any other type until you get into more modern ships. Then you want to start bringing like alloys and stuff into it. And on the Project 13, I actually use Krupp cemented armor. Cemented armor is a very interesting thing in real life, so I thought it would be perfect for a vessel of the time. But back to this, we're going to start looking at the proportions. Now, since we have such a large vessel here, we might do a 1-2 gun setup. So that means, in my case, I have weird words for it. That means I'll have 1 gun in the front and 2 in the back. So we're going to use one of my prefabbed turrets here. And then I think that's good enough for a start. So I have quite a few prefabbed guns. That is the wrong one. I want sub-objects. So what I'm going to use, as I said, quite a few prefabs. I'm going to use possibly a 152 mil, but I might just go for standard 130 mil. So this is my standard gun of the Navy. I mean, it's obviously Russian based because I'm just like that, but there we go. So now we have the start of a destroyer leader. And if I'm going to go with the 130s, I'm going to just... Also, why is the camera twitching? Whatever. I'm going to turn them... I'm going to make it so that it's 5 guns with 1 in the center, so that it's similar enough to the Project 50, but it still retains some differences. In this case, a bit more guns, possibly less torpedoes, possibly the same. I'll figure it out as we go. So now, I made it perfectly so that you only need 1 block. I didn't think that through when I was tearing this apart, but we're going to make it so that it looks beautiful. If you're making a ship that doesn't look nice, what are you doing, honestly? I mean, it's one thing to make something that performs, but you gotta have it look nice too. Looking nice is half the battle. So, in your case, you guys can just do like a metal block surrounding it, but I'm going to use a turret head so that it looks like it's actually part of the hull. So now we have the turret head. Now we have our turret. I shouldn't have put this down first and instead of placing the superstructure and making the chairs there, but we'll just delete the guns later and whatnot. For those of you who are curious about how I made these guns, honestly in this case it's mostly modded, but I do have the old tutorial series that still stands true. Honestly, everything in there will still be mostly true. I might make a bigger gun tutorial later, but right now I'm just going to use this 130, which uses very simplistic design due to being a realistic gun. So now we're going to just put in the second gun, which isn't too hard. Give it a little space, just so that they don't, so it has room to, you know, traverse the first gun. We want it to be about, I'm just gonna copy the style of the Project 50 for this. I wanted to place sideways, but it didn't. I'm very glad it didn't. So there we go. So now we have the very basic setup of our new destroyer leader. So if you guys have any questions, any comments, anything you would like to see from this, I would love to hear feedback. And if you have any ideas of something I can do for From the Depths, that would be extremely appreciated as well. So that is all for this episode of How Dim Does It. And as for now, DimAurora, signing off.